Welcome to another edition of the Bandwagon Podcast. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. I would say possibly who's got the best accent ever since, from all the podcasts that I've done. So she should be really good on the ear, really, to be honest with you. So I'm joined by a musician, an author, an artist, a philanthropist, and most importantly, a humanitarian. Manika Kaur, welcome to the Bandwagon Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was the privilege is mine. We managed to get this put this together fairly quickly, which is good, because I thought, if I message out, see if I could get a response back, and it was straight away. So I was really, really lucky, because you've just been out celebrating, right?
That's right. It's been a lot of celebration lately in my life, so it's been fun.
And not just any kind of celebration, like over here, we're gonna get out a DJ or something like that. But you actually go and get artists, and I'm talking the different levels of artists. Yeah. Are you all right to just share with us who you had on your party?
Right. I celebrated my 40th birthday in Athens, and I love music. I'm in that world of music, but spiritual music. But one of the artists that I admire greatly, and I grew up listening to his music, is Shaggy. The incredible Shaggy was at my 40th birthday party. That's right, for just 25 girls, my 25 closest girlfriends. And it was amazing. It was like a night I'll never forget.
Yeah, I saw some of your footage on Instagram, and I was like, Mr. Bumbus. I think that was one of my first tapes that I ever bought independently. Like, out my old pocket money, that I went in and said, yeah, I'm getting that.
Right? I mean, he's iconic. And if you think about him, he's one artist who has done so many collaborations, which actually is not an easy thing to do, because artists are always, they have their opinions. Sometimes it's hard to collaborate without and keeping those long-term good relationships. But this is a man who keeps coming out with album after album, collaboration after collaboration, and pivoting all around. And I think that's really something to admire, someone who could sustain themselves in this industry for so long and work with so many different people. So it was like an honor to have him there.
I mean, we're just dipping our toe in it slightly now, but as a musician and stuff, was there, when you see artists and, the level that they operate, what's some of the biggest lessons that you're able to kind of pick, or tips from people like that artist as a caliber?
Well, I do. So, because I'm very much in the world of spiritual music and Kirtan music, when I started, there wasn't actually somebody out there who was doing this. So it's not like I had someone to look at and say, this is who I want to be, or this is where I want to reach. I just kind of did something that I was passionate about. But I think I could look at almost anybody in any field and find inspiration from that person. But I think the thing that really moves me the most is when I speak to somebody and they start talking about something they're passionate about. It's almost like this moment where I see them standing in their light, in their flow. Like, that is the thing you're doing, the thing you're meant to be doing, whatever it is. And for me, that moment is like awe-inspiring. So watching someone like Shaggy perform, you just feel like, my God, he's doing the thing he's meant to be doing. Because he took 4 flights to get to us. Wow. And so many things could have gone wrong, and nothing went wrong. And then he was tired before the performance, but when he was on stage, when he was performing, it was something else. He pulled us into his world. And that's the thing. Like, I love going to concerts. I love going to plays. I love going to shows. I love watching orchestras, because when you bring yourself into the moment and you zone in, you can feel their passion. I literally have goosebumps talking about it.
Wow.
You can feel their passion. And that really moves me, because I feel like so many people are just wandering aimlessly looking for their thing. And they're looking for it in the wrong places, because they're looking at other people's flow and thinking, well, I need to do that, or I need to do that. When an answer is literally inside them. They just need to go within. And that's what my music does. It's about taking you within and connecting you to your divine highest self, so you can be happy.
I remember having a conversation with somebody where they were talking about how, like, from a health point of view, like, the body is like is like a symphony, and each kind of organ is vibrating and working at a particular kind of frequency, and then they all got to come to connect. They connect together to produce that symphonic kind of output, really. And then that's how you connect with music so much, and that can actually trigger the spirituality with it. Do you believe there's any truth in that?
Absolutely. I think everything is energy, and absolutely you can measure. There's these devices where you can actually measure the frequency of things, and you can almost measure the frequency of everything because it's outputting some kind of energy. And so in terms of healing, the frequency of the music you're listening to can actually have an effect on different organs, different parts of your body. Certain frequencies can actually calm down your system, bring you out of anxiety. But the main thing that I try to focus on with my music is, and what I'm really interested in, is this whole world of quantum physics, but really your brain rhythms, your brain waves. So there are the four that we know about, which is the first one being beta brain waves, where you're in your critical mind, your analytical mind. And then down from that, where your brain waves slow down a little bit, is alpha brain waves. You're pretty chilled. Then you get theta. And in theta brain waves, that's the kind of area you're in just before you fall asleep and just before you wake up. And they say, because your analytical mind hasn't jumped in yet, in that place, you can really manifest things that you want. Below that is the delta brain waves. And delta brain waves are like, you're in that quantum field. You think it, you're creating it. And there's something that they don't even talk about. They haven't even named it, where it's even below delta, where you have mind-heart coherence, where your heartbeat, if you were to measure your heart waves and your brain waves, are in complete sync. For me, I call that oneness. That's that place. That's the place I hope to resonate at or be at. And I think that, the stuff that I do and the things that I'm reading are really opening my mind and helping me to understand the depths of it and the nuances, and how small things can have such a big impact in your life. So absolutely, your organs are all vibrating a particular frequency and creating a symphony. And each and every place that you go to, there is music, even if you can't hear it physically.
And so do you obviously now we've quickly connected health, science and music. Is that the kind, you just touched on it in terms of saying that's where you would like to resonate within that oneness and stuff? Do you find that as a challenge when you're creating music, that you want to have, that's where you want your music to be at home? How do you find that process to actually achieve, to try and get it there? And if you can't, how do you deal with some of the frustrations?
So, I recently worked on a project and it's almost done. And I have done full albums faster than this particular track that I've been working on. And it has an orchestra, it has a choir, it has a great producer, it has so many different elements happening. I can't really talk about it yet because it's a little bit top secret, but I've never been involved in a project that has had so many hurdles and so many problems arise. COVID was a big problem, but in the whole process, there was quite a lot of, I could feel a lot of negativity and resistance. And so I stopped and I thought to myself, well, this project is very meaningful and it's very big. And sometimes the universe requires us to earn it. And so I sat down for 40 days and I prayed every day for 40 days for this particular project, because I said, I only want it if I deserve it. And throughout that process, do you know what Japji Sahib is? You must know Japji Sahib. So I do this, I'll do 7 Japji Sahibs or 5 Japji Sahibs or 11 Japji Sahibs for 40 days when I feel like there's something stuck. And so I did that for this particular project and this particular cause. And I'm not even joking, everything began to clear, just all the hurdles. And it led me to the right people, the right ending, the right conclusion. And I'm maybe a week away from finalizing it all. And so whenever there is resistance, the way I like to handle it is to just step back and sit down, go within myself, go within the feelings, bring my awareness to the feelings. And usually an answer comes. And at that point, the answer that came was sit down, pray, because it's such a big project for such a big, beautiful cause. Earn it. Pray for those souls. Earn it first. And that was the answer that came, and I just trusted it. So I think with time, you just really do learn to tune into your frequency and understand what's coming from within, and makes you a lot happier in life. That's for sure.
I'm feeling fairly relaxed, but you should do kind of like, the bedtime reading. It's just like, if everyone's going to release a book, I'm going to get you to read it, because it's just like, it's very calming and soothing in that way.
Everybody says that, by the way. Friends of mine will fall asleep next to me. They're like, why do I feel so calm next to you? And then they're like asleep or something. Strangers too, they sit next to me and they're like, I feel so calm. I'm like, it's just the frequency I vibrate at. Anybody can get there.
Well, it's about 30 odd degrees here in the UK. So I don't know which part of the world. I know you travel the world, and we'll get there. So it's like, it's soothing, and my eyes are getting, so don't, if I do drift, it's nothing to do with you, but you definitely got a podcasting voice, I'll tell you that now. I mean, what you've just said now, it feels like you've gone through a really kind of accomplished kind of route, gone through life experiences, to have that holistic sort of advice and wisdom, let's say. But what was a young Manika Kaur like? Are you able to just share how you were?
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in a very spiritual house and with very strict parents, and I grew up in Melbourne in Australia. So it was funny to kind of, I felt like I lived in two different eras at the same time. So half of me was living a very, very traditional conservative life. And at the other half of me was like, I was in an all-girls school where girls were modern and talking about things that I was never, ever allowed to do. Yeah. So I had a very strict upbringing. But I would say that a lot of the programming that was inside me that I had to kind of like release myself from or work my way through was this, I call it good girl programming. So even from a young age, I felt like a good girl doesn't complain. A good girl smiles. A good girl is like a flower. She's always fragrant. These were the lines I would hear from people around me. And I took it on board. And I always felt like I didn't realize it at the time, but it took me a long time to kind of realize that a lot of the things that I was doing or choosing for myself was because of this programming. So I've kind of shifted through it. But I had a very beautiful childhood, and I have fantastic relationship with my siblings, with their partners, and with my parents that I really, really appreciate, because I think that that's actually rare in today's world where people throw away relationships very easily. I'm really lucky to have that connection with my family. But that aside, there are definitely things that we all go through, being bullied. Definitely that happened, being, brown with long hair and traditional in this kind of white world. And when I was quite young, I had a teacher who was abusive. Like she would like physically stick her nails into my back, or pull hair out of the back of my head if I couldn't get a question right. But I was 7 or 8, and I think about that a lot, because I would say that bullies is like the pattern of my life. I would always attract bullies. And I mean, I have a mouth. I would go to my mom and say, I want this ice cream, or I want this doll. But why didn't I go to my parents and say to them that this person's hurting me? You need to get rid of them,
But how did you deal with that conversation going up? Because we all have that in terms of like, you replay scenarios. I wish I'd done this, but we all have different coping mechanisms. In terms of your coping mechanism, how did you deal with that?
So from I'm in terms of reflecting to my childhood, that would be probably one of the early cases of something like that happening. Later on, there was always some sort of person that I would attract or would be in my kind of life, in my, energy circle. And it would always be this kind of person who would take advantage or bully or something like that. But really, it was when I delivered my son, and I almost died and I was sick for a long time, that I kind of woke up and saw my pattern. The universe was kind of pushing me to wake up and love myself. Why do you let people abuse you? It comes from comes from this place of thinking that you deserve to be treated that way. So it means that it comes from a place of where you lack this ability to love yourself or to know what you deserve. And it like got to that peak of literally almost dying before I kind of understood the message that the universe was telling me, which is like, Manika, wake up, love yourself. Love yourself, choose you. And boom, the minute I saw it, it was like a light switch went on. I started to choose myself and everything around me changed. And I stopped attracting those sort of people because I got the lesson. I passed the exam.
Yeah.
And that was just out of my life after that. And yeah, so I don't have any bitterness. I actually feel like it was all a blessing to reach this place that I'm at now, this kind of content, peaceful place. I don't see it as a bad thing. I just see it like that was the experience that this soul wanted to have, in this human form or whatever, I'm
going to ask you a slightly tricky question, really. It's based on some of your terminology that you've said. Okay. You refer to the universe in itself. Two questions. One is, what does the universe mean to you? What's that definition of the universe? Second one is, if it's different, how do you explain to somebody what the universe is if they're not necessarily spiritual? Because you clearly come from a spiritual essence and origin of some sort. How do you deal with that?
So the universe, what is the universe?
Yeah.
The universe is you. You're your universe. You're living out. Everything that you're experiencing and living out is your projection. What you find in the stars, in the planets, in the cosmos is exactly what you're made out of. You're made out of water, fire, stardust, earth. So everybody is actually walking through this universe and they're living out their projection. So the universe is you. When you understand that the universe is you and you're living out your projection, and you understand this key thing that we're only capable of feeling our own thinking, then you understand how powerful you are. You want to feel different? Change your thinking. You want a different experience? Slow down those brain waves, go into the quantum field and manifest anything you want. Tap into what you actually are beyond this container named Ricky or Manika. What is the actual essence of you? That essence is unlimited and it's powerful. It's the universe in motion. You are unlimited. You are powerful. You are the universe in motion, and you are here to have the experience that you call out for and you want. And it starts with you realizing that and the frequency of your thoughts. You will tune into what you put out. I was a victim. I attracted bullies. I stopped being a victim. I stopped attracting bullies.
So I might use this when I argue with my wife next.
However you want to use it.
Yeah.
But people have the same arguments dressed up differently over and over again. But that there's science behind that. We are addicted to those feelings. You say this, it causes me to feel this. You say X, it causes me to feel Y. Then I'll say Y, it causes you to feel Z. We are in this pattern because we're addicted to this pattern. You don't want to be in this pattern. Create some lifelines. Break the pattern by breaking the thought process. Stop and say, listen. I've said this. I realize that it's going to make you feel like that. Let's break our pattern. Let's not go into the same pattern. And the more and more you break that pattern, the less it happens, because you've wired your brain that way by living that pattern over and over again. So now your brain is addicted to those feelings. You're actually afraid to escape that cycle. It's because it's your comfort zone.
And I'm guessing then that's the kind of methodology when you're trying to explain it to somebody else who may not kind of understand the universe bit, that it's actually, it's not the kind of the I don't know, the superstition or anything like that. It's just your own energy and your own projection.
Definitely no superstition. And as a Sikh, we don't believe in superstitions anyways. But if I'm talking to people, which, because I travel, I meet people from all different backgrounds. My friends will call me up and going through different things. The first thing to do first, I feel, is bring your full focus and attention and awareness to that person, because there's a part of them, which is, I would say, their soul, which knows, which feels if it's being heard or not. Wow. And as they talk, they actually figure it out on their own. The moment you are so present with them, they become present with themselves. And you just let them talk. You just let them talk it through, and they actually get to the end of the tunnel themselves. You don't actually have to do anything. And then there are things you can say, which is like, if you want to kind of access that place more often, if you want to be centered more often, if you want to bring your awareness within more often, well, listen to this kind of music. Listen to this sort of frequency of music. Bring in that practice of being in the now and being aware of yourself, aware of your emotions. Most of us are just running away from it, right?
Of course, I think everyone's kind of running away from different things at different aspects. Some people, pack their troubles away, put it in a suitcase and go somewhere else, and they're still there. Surprise, surprise. They don't actually necessarily kind of deal with some of the issues. I mean, you touched on especially one of the issues that are around, growing up, especially in a minority. I would say probably in Melbourne at that time, but a growing diaspora. Did you ever come to a time, especially when you're going in leading up to your 20s, in terms of where your culture versus religion tension, or in an environment like in Australia, did that ever boil up to a point where you were like, because you've traveled the world, and there must have been a point where you're thinking, I might want to get out of here?
I don't think I ever felt that way. And I think in large part why, and this is just me reflecting, and I could be wrong, but I think in this round around the earth that I'm having, my soul is much older. I feel like I've done the rounds. I've been that person. I've been that person. I've been that person. I've had that experience. I've had maybe, I don't know how many hundreds of different experiences. And in this life, I'm here sitting maybe in a slightly higher frequency, because I've shifted through those other frequencies by having those experiences. I've been all of those other people in different lifetimes. And so in this lifetime, I'm more in the know. I know who I am. I know my purpose. I knew it from a young age. I know what I want. I know what I want to achieve. And I'm sure there are past experiences and lives that I had where I wasn't that person. But, I'm getting tired. I'm ready to go. Merge back into the light. God, take me home. I'm done. This is my
Mr.
last
Bumbus
round. This girl is tired. Her legs are aching.
Shaggy would be playing the soundtrack no matter wherever you're going in it. So,
girl, you're my angel. I'd be like, that's right, God.
That's it, God. That's it. Your relationship with music, then, when did that start?
Started young. So exactly. We grew up in Melbourne, and there were no Kirtanis, no Babajis there. There was just nothing. It was just a small community. And so I think that the adults of our community were like, well, how do we get these kids to be interested in Sikhi? How do we get them to hold on to their culture and their roots in this kind of, white country? And my dad actually donated 20 bajas and 20 tablas to the Gurdwara when I was 10. And so my sister and I took a baja. My two brothers each took a tabla. And that's how we started singing Kirtan. The way that I learned Kirtan, I never actually had teachers growing up, was to listen to cassette tapes. Mm-hmm. If some people don't know what cassette tapes are, look it up. I'm really not that old, but that's what we used to listen to back then. Listen to these cassette tapes and sit on the baja and literally pump and figure out the key by ear. And then write the words down the way that they sound, because I read Punjabi now, but I didn't read Punjabi then. And then practice, and then sing in the Gurdwara. We were very lucky because the elders in our community weren't judgmental. They were like, find your way, just sing Kirtan. Don't worry about anything. Just sing, just come to the Gurdwara. If you come to the Gurdwara, you sing some Kirtan, we're happy. Mm. And But that actually, because they didn't try to control us, and they gave us the freedom to like fall in love with Sikhi, to experience that connection came to us more naturally. And like I would say, myself and my group of friends that I grew up with in Australia, we are more kind of on that, you know, we kind of resonate with it more easily. We don't have as many struggles
And do you
with our identity as Sikhs.
Do you go back? Because you're based in Dubai now, aren't you?
I live in London now. I moved to
London,
London a few years ago. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. But like, do you ever get the chance to kind of go back to your roots and experience that again?
So before I had the twins, they're about to be 4 in a month. When I was living in Dubai, I would go back to Melbourne. Especially every time I released a new album, the first thing I would want to do was go to Melbourne and sing it in the Gurdwara that I grew up in. So I always did that. With every album, I'd go home and I would sing there first. But since the twins moving to London and COVID, it's not been possible. No. I miss it. I really miss it. I miss going to Amritsar, really, because I would go every year to Amritsar as well to see so all my music, 100% of the proceeds of my music is donated. So I'm educating about 300 children in Punjab, predominantly girls. So I go every year and I do an event there for all my kids. And so, but I haven't been able to go for a few years. So that's actually, I miss that more than Melbourne.
And that's your charity, isn't it? Is Kirtan For causes, right?
Yeah. And, I don't accept donations. It's not a charity you can donate to. It's just my life mission. If you buy my music, if you buy a ticket to a concert that I do, if you buy my book from Amazon or support anything I do, whatever you give me is going to those kids. It goes to that charity. But don't give me any donations. I don't need it. I'm happy to just put my life's work towards this kind of field.
And that is super rare. You know, like having the ethics around it is really, really important. So, well, I'm going to say congratulations. Well done for that. And
thank you. And like, I mean, you can say that to me, but at the same time, in this life, the universe has put me in a position to be able to do this. In another life, possibly not. So I'm not better than anybody else because I do this. It's just that in this round, that's it. It's this round brought this opportunity, and this soul knows what it wants to do in this round. And so it's doing it. It's just living out. I'm living out my universe. The universe in motion. Right here, baby.
the projection. Yeah. So this interview could go in totally different ways. I'm like calculating now which way I'm gonna go. So you've got you obviously you've fallen in love with Kirtan and but to make that next step to go and like produce something and make it I won't say that having the dharmic music available for release and things, you know, that must have been a bit of a more of a scarier kind of option, or did you just feel it was a natural thing to do?
So I had an arranged marriage and I moved from Australia to Dubai, and Dubai had no Gurdwara. And I grew up in such a spiritual house where we were in the Gurdwara a lot. My family do Guru Granth Sahib Ji Seva. So I had and we would go to Punjab every year. So I had a very full spiritual life. And then to go to Dubai and almost the expectation be that get up in the morning, get dressed, do your hair, do your makeup, carry an expensive bag, and then go for lunch or tea or dinner and socialize was so jarring to someone like me who grew up the way that I grew up. I couldn't blend in. I couldn't fit in no matter what I did. So I spoke to my husband, I spoke to my in-laws, and I'm like, I'm miserable doing this. Like, I can't get dressed and attend anything. Please don't ask me to. Just please. The bare minimum, I'll do that. But please don't ask me. That would
have been an interesting conversation. We just got married. Yeah. Mom, Dad,
I did it for like 6 months. And basically, like at the end of 6 months, I was like, please, like, I need to be me. I need to find myself. But what was really lucky for me is I got married in May in 2006. And when I moved to Dubai, I kept thinking, what is the thing, God? What is the thing? Like, there's no Gurdwara, there's this, there's that. And my in-laws had been trying to get permission for the Gurdwara for 6 years. And the year I got married in 2006, on my birthday, the 12th of July, 2006, Sheikh Mohammed signed the permission for the Gurdwara. the first Gurdwara in Dubai. And the minute that happened on my birthday, just like a couple of months after I got married, I knew that I'm supposed to be part of this somehow. Otherwise, like it was a sign from God to this old soul, who was like, give me your purpose, give me your purpose. This is not my life. I can't do this, So, maybe they listen to the older ones a bit more. I don't know. So then I went straight to Babaji's room. I did ardas and I was like, okay, this is a sign. What do I do? What do I do? And then I had a dream. I had a dream that I recorded a Kirtan album to raise money to build the Gurdwara. I literally am holding this album in the dream and I turn it around and I see my picture. And in the dream, I'm like, oh, it's me. And when I woke up, it's like 4 or 5 in the morning. And then I went back to bed, woke up a bit later. And I told my husband, I said, I had this dream, but I don't think it was a dream. I think it was a vision. I think I'm supposed to do this. And I'm not even joking. I did ardas. I put it out there and everything just happened on its own. Sukhbir produced the album for free. The company that printed the books, Atlas Printing Press, the wife of the owner is Sardarni, printed it for free. The company that did the CDs, Biba, they're not there anymore, but they were there at the time, did it for free. I ended up creating an album that was free, literally cost zero, and raised over 1 million dirhams, which is close to 300,000 pounds for the Gurdwara. My first album. I couldn't plan that. I couldn't even envision that. And that's how powerful we are. We don't have to worry about the how. We just put into the universe the seed of what we want to achieve. And as our frequency rises, as we put our attention and awareness to that seed, the universe will create the path there.
I'm just trying to digest many layers of this. There's projection, there's visualization, there's Sukhbir thrown in there. Who's just not any artist, right?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, so there must have been some advice that he must have given you in terms of his experience through the whole music field, right?
He did actually give me very good advice. And I think I was very lucky to meet Sukhbir and his wife because it was so funny because we recorded the whole album in the Babajis room in our house in Dubai. And like we would be doing it at God knows what time. And his wife and my husband would be sitting opposite us, leaning against the wall in Babaji's room, listening to us do it again, sing the line again, sing it like this, sing it again, to just get these parts, these nuances in there so beautifully, because honestly, he's a master. But one thing he said to me, because I was so under that good girl programming, like I was too shy to talk about what I was doing. Like I felt like it was ego, but it's not ego. Like I've learned that over time. But he said to me, if you're going to do something, when it's done, go out, share it, promote it, put it out there. There's no point if you do this project and then you keep it in your drawer. Like get behind it, put all your energy and behind it and your love behind it and put it out there. Like, don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to say, I'm Manika Kaur and I'm here and I'm a Kirtan artist and this is what I do. And I need you to donate money to the Guru Nanak Darbar because we want to build this Gurdwara. Like, go for it. And that actually gave me a lot of confidence to be like, yeah, I am doing this. I am up till 2, 3 in the morning with my poor husband and his poor wife half asleep on the wall on the other side, recording this album for a purpose. So get behind the purpose, So, I mean, it helped me start to kind of become aware of that programming that was inside me that I needed to strip away from.
And then developing into, I mean, I don't know actually the demography and the breakdown, but there's not that many sort of the being a female as well, going into that and having that empowerment, being a role model and an inspiration in terms of how to do that. Did you feel any added pressure, or were you just so driven in your own vision to you were just going to do it?
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? When you try to control something or someone, it never lasts, it never stays, and it brings you misery. But when you let go into something and you accept that this is your flow and you let go into it, it leads to somewhere so beautiful you can't imagine. And I'm kind of good at that. I'm kind of good at just understanding and accepting. And again, that's why I say that I feel like I'm this old soul, because I get things really fast. So I've had these learnings before, But yeah, I just let go into it. And I wasn't trying to be a role model or any of those things. And I probably am not a role model, Like, I'm modern. I sing Kirtan. I don't wear white. I am who I am. I'm a mom. I am a wife. I like to go out and have fun, even though I don't drink or take any substances. I still have the most fun. I love music. I love to dance. I love art. I love everything, literally. I just love life. I love going for walks in the park. I am who I am. If you like it, listen. If you don't like it, if you need me to wear white and wear a mala around my neck to enjoy my kirtan, then don't listen to it. But I'm not going to stop being who I am and putting that out into the world the way that I hear it. And that's the thing. I don't feel like I own it. I don't feel like I created it. I feel like it's moving through me, not coming from me, but moving through me. Like I'm just on that frequency, like when you connect into a radio station and a particular song comes through. That's the song that's coming through. I'm just that little dial. That's all I am. I'm just that little dial, and that's the song coming through, or that's the words coming through that resulted in that book. Like I've written 5 children's stories, so they're coming out slowly.
I was just going to say that, because so you've kind of started the path and the road for the music, and that's at this stage where we were going through is kind of established, and you're going there. Where did the want and need come from the book side of it? Because that is a completely kind of different skill to do as well.
Yeah, I have twins. Okay. So I have 3 kids. I have an 11-year-old and I have almost 4-year-old twins. My first book is called Where Do Tantrums Come From?
I can answer
that. Yes, right. So life inspires me, right? Life inspires me. So I'm a mom of twins and I'm struggling. And the struggle inspired these books that I've written. And like the rest are going to slowly come out. But yeah, life inspires me. My kids, like it was a song I used to sing to them. Where do tantrums come from? Do they come from above or below? I'd sing this and they would stop and listen. And then I would play with them. Are they hidden in your nose or your toes? And I would like look up their nose, go between their toes. Is it hiding in your bed? And I would pull off the blanket and look under the bed. And it would turn the tantrum into this kind of game. And then somebody, I think it was my sister-in-law, somebody heard me, my brother's wife heard me and said, you should write this. This is a book. And I was like, yeah, I really should. And I want to make sure that this book shows kids from all different backgrounds. And so I found this fantastic artist, Charity Russell. She got the vision and she understood like I wanted this very diverse thing. And the point of the book, like the last few pages of the book, basically tells them how to self-soothe. It empowers them to understand that tantrums come from within you, comes from inside you, but tantrums don't last too long. It tells them that when you feel that tantrum, take a deep breath, ask for a big bear hug if you can't find the words. It's okay to cry and feel tired. Just remember you're so loved. It's like empowering them to go inside. And each of the books that I've written, so 4 of them are for quite young kids. Where do tantrums come from? And then where do you come from? Where does kindness come from? And where does healthy come from? That's like a series. And then I've written another book called The Cosmic Tree. That's about enlightenment through the perspective of this banyan cosmic tree. And it's a much deeper book to understand. But I think for that 8, 9, 10-year-old, especially in today's world, exposed to what they're exposed to, kind of reminding them that there's not some superhero outside your life that's going to come and rescue you, that all the answers that you're searching for and the power that you need and that inner warrior, that's inside you. And so really just kind of, that's what I'm trying to do with these books, is like give my children the tools. And even with like my latest album, the Ache album, which ache means oneness, right? If you play it to your child will learn how to sing Kirtan, because the way that I've sung the album, even though I've got the best musicians, right? Playing the most beautiful instruments and playing music in this very complex and tasty way, the way that I sing is very melodic and in rhythm and slow and very pronounced, so that when a child is listening to that, by the end of the Shabad, my children can sing almost all those Shabads. So my kids inspire me to, even in the style of music or the way that I sing or what I'm writing or doing, it's life that inspires me. I draw inspiration from that and I put it into my art.
Do you have any books for tantrums between parents?
Well, one second, my camera's a bit blurry. Adults, like, I think all it is really, and I'm telling you, it's easier than you think, is paying attention to the feeling when it comes up. Everything is energy. So when you feel anger or frustration, it's actually an emotional charge that rises up. You actually have a physical part in your body where you feel it. For example, when you feel nervous, you feel it in your stomach. When you feel angry, you feel it in your chest. When you feel aroused, you feel it, everything. There's a spot, there's a part in your body. When you feel tension, you feel it in your head. You have headaches, right? So there's a physical manifestation of that emotional feeling. Go to that, go into it, and take a deep breath into it and ask yourself, pay attention to it. It comes up because it wants your attention. It wants you to bring your attention. And the moment you bring your attention to it, it starts to let go. You understand it. It's like all of this stuff that's just suppressed, and needs to come out in a certain way. And by bringing your attention to it, you allow it that space to be acknowledged and to leave. And you end up lighter, happier. I'm not even joking. You start to age backwards. You start to look younger. Nobody thinks I'm 40. Oh, yeah.
I think people think I'm older with grays. I'm just turning into grays and bags under my eyes and everything. So yeah, I think I might have to start.
It's not only physically; it's your energy.
Everything. I'm 40 in October. I'm 40 in October, and I can almost feel as I'm getting towards it. There's like a switch. Like I play football pretty often, and just getting little twinges, little aches and pains and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is, when you get the warning signs. And then, but I'm determined to definitely do something like that. But I take it on board. I was more coming from the angle where you have like, when you, especially as a parent, when you're preparing yourself to become a parent, because it is a bit like that. You like all the books that you kind of read on is all around about pregnancy and everything. There's very rare information of when the baby comes up, what do you do? I remember watching YouTube to learn how to put on a nappy and things, like basically it didn't really prepare me. I think there was a lot, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but I felt there was a lot of stuff for women out there to do that. There wasn't that many stuff for like dads and new dads and what to do and how to. It was just a real life lesson really quickly, and I think it took some time to kind of digest. And so you are prepared. I was more prepared for my son when he came around. I wasn't scared of breaking anything. You know what I mean? It's just you get used to that. So that's what I kind of meant in terms of like, not the tantrums between yourselves. It's just that you're so tired, you're overstretched. You're demanding that self downtime in order to kind of relax, and it's just sometimes it's not necessarily there.
Well, yes. When you have a child, wow, like they take over every aspect of your life, of your thoughts, the level of exhaustion that you feel like you get pushed to your human limits. And at the same time, you feel that level of love and joy, and that you would have never experienced if it wasn't for that child. So you experience kind of both sides of the spectrum when it comes to parenthood. I think the main thing to remember is your child isn't trying to give you a hard time. Your child isn't trying to throw that tantrum or be difficult. Just like how you need to take time to acknowledge your emotions, that soul that's sitting in that body, it just needs to be acknowledged in that moment. So if you kind of remind yourself that, hey, my kid is struggling right now, and instead of me struggling along with my kid, instead of me taking it personally and saying, oh, my kid is so difficult, oh, my kid is so clingy or needy, or my kid just throws tantrums all the time, maybe there's a reason. And it's just like really just going down to their level, acknowledging what they're feeling, and not telling them, not saying to them, no, this is not what happened. That's not what happened, because their brain can't compute that. Like they are completely running from the amygdala, which is the emotional part of the brain. The prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop till you're 22. So when you're saying to your children as they grow up, what were you thinking? They weren't thinking. They were feeling. They're in the feeling part of the brain. This part doesn't work. The analytical part doesn't actually fully grow until they're 22 years old. So you have to kind of treat them very differently and understand that everything they're doing is emotionally driven. So you sitting there trying to explain things is not actually going to be that effective. The best thing you can do with an emotional person is first acknowledge their feeling. Make them feel heard, acknowledge their feeling, embrace them, help them come out of fight, flight mode, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, basically, survival mode. Help them calm down and come out of that place, And once they're calm, you can suggest things. Don't try to control them and say, do this, do that. Nobody wants to be bossed around. Try to suggest things like, how about next time when you feel this way, you come and sit on mommy's lap and say, Mommy, I'm not feeling good. Or how about next time you want the toy in your sister's hand? How about you ask her? You just make suggestions, because what you're telling them is that they're capable. When you do that, you're telling them, you're empowering them. You're not taking away their power and saying, I know better than you. You're empowering them. And I feel like parents who do that well are the parents who are in touch with themselves. Like, are you empowering yourself? Are you acknowledging yourself? Because if you are, you'll be able to do it for other people. If you're not, even when you're doing it for other people, there's something inside you that's still struggling and suffering. And it's actually more like you're doing it more like a show, more like this programming that you have to be this way, versus actually naturally being that way and being in your flow.
Yeah, I'm obviously playing kind of like self-reflective on here. I'm trying to imagine my Baba saying some of the same things to them, but I think what it comes down to, what you said, is kind of that patience and time. If you've got time and patience, I think a lot of those things kind of are achievable. I think everyone can achieve it. I think I'm going to leave this podcast thinking more reflectionist and start thinking, yeah. I think I might need my own therapy session after this anyway. What I wanted to do was talk about in terms of like, so you've got your Kirtan, you've got the Dharmic music, you've got your music career going on there. You've got this author side. Do you ever see a point where they kind of merge together? I mean, like the easiest example is kind of the audio book style, or is there any other kind of projects around that side in terms of development?
Yes. So there's actually quite a lot of things that I want to do. And I'm putting it out there, and it'll come to me when it comes to me. At the moment, I'm in this phase where all I want to do is read and study. There's something that the universe needs me to understand. And the more I read and the more I study, the more I can apply science to Guru Nanak's teachings, because that's my passion. It's this world of Kirtan. It's Guru Nanak's message, because Guru Nanak's message is extremely profound. It's extremely deep. And there's so much science behind it. For example, Guru Nanak talks about the 5 khans in Japji Sahib, and the ultimate being Sach Khand. In quantum physics, they talk about the 5 dimensions, right? Scientists talk about the brain waves. They mention 4, but they always say there's a 5th where you have heart-mind coherence, right? In Ayurveda, they talk about the 5 sheets. In certain practices, sometimes I Ching, they talk about the 5 densities. There is something there that explains to you how you move through these dimensions or these places. And the thing about that I love so much about Sikhi is the message of oneness. And I find that Sikhi is probably one of the most modern faiths, because to come out 500 years ago to say women and men are equal. Today, look at what's happening in the US and the Supreme Justice and women's having their rights taken away from them, and all over the world, the pay gap between men and women. Today, people struggle with this idea of men and women being equal. And Guru Nanak was like, nope. He came out, he abolished the caste system, removed the surnames, and said, we're all equal in the eyes of God. The Holy Scriptures, Sikh Holy Scriptures, is one of the only scriptures that doesn't talk about women in a derogatory way. Like, there's nothing written in there that says that women are sinners, women came to tempt man, or women should be hid. Or, if you start searching and researching kind of other religious texts, you will see some of the stuff which is really disturbing. I don't believe that God made one sex higher and one sex lower. I believe in Guru Nanak's message that we are one. And the more I study about frequency, the more I study about quantum physics. I'm currently reading a psychology book called The Polyvagal Theory, which is about the nerve that connects the stomach, the heart, and the mind, and how you store trauma in this. It talks about the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, these modes that we go into, and helps you to become aware of these things that you do and to understand the trauma and move through it. As I read all of this stuff, I understand Sikhi better. I understand Guru Nanak's message with more depth. And I want to find a way to bring it all together. And I feel like maybe I'm moving in that direction, but in some time. First, I need to understand it all. It connects already, but how do I take that connection and understand it to the depths of it? And then how do I take that depth and put it into words or a book or something, and then put it out there? I am writing a book, by the way. I've written 80,000 pages, so I'm writing a book, but it's in process. I still know that it's not done. Like I know that
pages.
Yeah. So not pages, sorry, 80,000 words.
Well,
80,000 words. No, sorry. The last time I checked, it was 120,000 words. Not 80,000 pages. What am I saying? No one's going to read that book. No one's going to read that book.
I know. I think you probably start asking for donations then for that printing.
No, I would need new hands. I think I couldn't type that many pages.
Wow. That is great.
No, but I mean,
again, it's just like, from a creative mind in terms of seeing how you're connecting everything together. It's always tiring, and it just seeing from what you're doing. So just on the last bit, in terms of your music career now, what's the kind of the next sort of, where are you now, and how do you reflect back on it, and where do you see yourself going with that? I know you just said a little bit on it, but I just want you to kind of just give us direction in terms of per kind of skill.
Right. So I'm releasing 2 albums. I'm recording 2 albums this year. One of them should come out this year. One will come out next year. One is a more traditional rag album, but it's like accessible rag. It's your taster into the world of rag. I never studied Kirtan traditionally. I'm self-taught, but I've always been very interested in it. So it's a rag with a little twist. And I'm doing that whole project is with Kirtan For, who's just absolutely brilliant. And Pinky, he's playing tabla. And now we're in the process of bringing in more musicians to kind of do the rest of the tracks. But it was very fun composing all of these tracks and kind of trying to understand this world of rag, which I feel like I need to get into more. I'm doing another album with the Martin Youth Glover. So he's produced Paul McCartney,
wow,
Killing Joke, The Verve, Spice Girls. He's a bassist himself. So we're doing a full album together, which we will be recording at Abbey Road Studios later this year. And that is definitely a bit more commercial. So it's like Sikh mantra album, I would call it, where I've kind of composed this kind of melodies, and then he does his kind of magic producer, new age sound sort of thing, with very interesting frequencies that kind of help you get into like a trance-like state, which is kind of his speciality, which is like that kind of trance music, but trance and spirituality kind of merging together. Like, how do we get you deeper into meditation and get you almost like in the zone where you're trancing along to the meditation, where even though your body isn't moving, your soul is moving. So that's that kind of project that I'm doing with him. I've got this little project, I can't really mention too much, but it's with the British Army. So that's quite cool. And that's almost done. But next year, when I record another album, I really want to do something that is fully immersed in all the things I've been studying, like the different frequencies. So doing a track which is just for your heart, which is the frequency of the heart, a track which is just for your mind, just for your lungs, just for your a full track of healing, high frequency, high energy music. And what I think is what I really enjoy about what I do is that the intention behind it is already at the highest level. For example, I go into it, I start with Ardas, I want it to bring happiness, to bring healing, to bring joy, to bring calm, right? So that's my intention. But yet all the proceeds from that music is going towards a great cause as well. So from A to Z, the intention is the highest possible intention I can currently set at the frequency which I'm at. Maybe I will find deeper and higher intentions, but this is where I'm at. And so putting that frequency out into the world is really important to me, because that's how the world changes. It's the frequency we put into it.
Wow. So much to digest. Too
much to digest. I'm so sorry. I need to like simplify all of this.
No, it's good. I'm going to actually kind of break it down to yourself. Really. I'm going to kind of bring it to a close, because there's quite a lot of stuff, and I'm definitely going to get you on again in terms of when these projects get released as well. So it keeps you accountable as well, you know, to the projects. So this is called the Bandwagon, the podcast is, and there's an opportunity at this point to either jump on a bandwagon, jump off a bandwagon, or if there's anything that you want to get off your chest at this point, this is the space for you to do so.
Get off my chest. Well, I think a takeaway, I guess, is if you wake up and you feel life is beautiful, life will be beautiful. It all starts with your thought. And the more people that wake up and start kind of doing that inner work, the better our world will be, the better it will be for our kids and for future generations. Because the best thing you can do with your life is raise your frequency. In doing so, you raise the frequency of the planet, you reduce the suffering in the planet, and the ultimate place that we all actually long for, deep, deep down in our soul, is that place of oneness, to merge back where you're one with everyone, everything, the stars, the moon, the sun, the butterflies, each and every single thing, each and every molecule in harmony, and resonating at that frequency. So
I think that's probably the most pleasant sort of disclosures a guest I've had at the end when I've put that question. And I think it's a perfect place to kind of bring it together and close. So I really want to thank you for taking the time out. I know you're extremely busy, as everybody probably listening or watching can tell. And I'd like to just say, like, you know, anything in terms of like support, it's always there from the podcast, and to help progress it and push it as far as we can.
Thank you. It was so fun talking to you, by the way. I'm sorry if I just poured out too much information.
It was good. Nothing of this is ever prepped. I always kind of have it as organic and as fresh as I can be. So just because it's out of genuine curiosity.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.